Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today we're here to talk about St. Bridget of Kildare.
Wait a second. But it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, but we had a viewer mention her in the comments, and we've already talked about St. Patrick, and we've already done multiple ones where you rally against the modern St. Patrick's Day in America. I figured they mentioned her.
Yep. You know what we call that
It's a
around
day.
here? A viewer request.
Yep.
So, to you lucky viewer who requested something on St. Bridget, here's your show.
Never let it be said that we are not responsive to our audience.
That's right. So, who was St. Bridget?
Well, first, we have multiple names for her.
Okay.
She's St. Bridget, or variations of that, of either Kildare or Ireland, because technically, for a whole country, they usually should be some level of, like, noble for that country. Like, you know, St. Louis of France was the king of France.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
She's also referred to as St. Bride in then of the cities in country, or the Mary of the Gal, because we don't exactly know. She's a very early saint. It's quite possible that, like St. Valentine's, there was a lot of people named Bridget, that their stories kind of got merged together. She has the problem that she's also named after a goddess from pre-Christian days, so there's a certain amount of, did they take kind of all the good that was from their pre-Christian religion and be like, no, we're talking about a saint, she's totally Christian.
Well, again,
Is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, that's what we do. We take everything we can, keep, and Christianize it.
We have a lot of fun stories about her, but we're not 100% on how true they are.
Okay. So, we also when you have a saint like that, you also get lots of patronages.
Yes, she is the patron of course, the County Kildare, babies, blacksmiths, boatmen, brewers, kettles, chicken farmers, children whose parents are not married, children with abusive fathers, the clan Douglas, dairy maids, dairy workers, Florida, fugitives, infants, Ireland, mariners,
Both babies and infants.
yep, midwives, milkmaids, nuns, poets, the poor, poultry farmers, the printing press, sailors, scholars, travels, and watermen.
Fantastic.
So, we believe she was born
Possibly around 451, with a dying around 525.
There's a lot of circa going on. A lot of circa.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the stuff we have that's written about her was made centuries later.
Or them.
Them, yeah, or them. The main points that most Christian sites agree on. Because, like, if you look at her, and you'll find the sites that are like, she was definitely a saint, she was possibly multiple women, and the ones where it's like, she was just the goddess Bridget, and they renamed her. So you get multiple stories.
Yeah,
but her mother was probably a Christian slave.
Hey.
Her father was probably a pagan.
Well, that would explain, her patronage of those whose parents aren't married and, those with bad fathers.
Yes, it's possible that he was a minor nobility or not. She may have been sold along with her mother to possibly a druid. And later most of the stories agree that later she was back at her father's house, and he either freed her or she ended up, like, meeting with a king of the area who freed her, or he tried to marry her off, and she miraculously became super ugly, so the guy said, no, I'm not marrying her, at which point she was then allowed to do what she wanted.
But the theme here is there's a lot of ambiguity. Several things could have happened. But at some point, she entered religious life.
Yes. It generally all...
Somehow, some way.
It generally all meets back up that she became a nun and created the first community of nuns in Ireland, and died when she was in her 70s-ish age. You know, some say 71, some say 75.
Circa 75.
Yes. So as we have so much detailed information about her, I thought we'd talk about the legends, myth, and folklore around her, because that's at least interesting.
Indeed.
All right. So, let's see what we got here. Stopped storms.
Yes.
Gave away all the milk and butter in her parents' house and miraculously reappeared.
Yes, she's very big on milk and butter and beer.
She turned water into milk.
Caused the trees of people to grow, double fruits, or None, depending on the person's generosity to the poor.
Yes,
That seems totally apropos.
there are multiple stories in which she like gave fruit to someone, like the leaders of nuns who were taking care of the poor, and some of them are like, all this fruit is ours, we're gonna keep it all, and some of them are like, we're gonna feed the poor with it. And then she either, cursed the trees that they had, or, blessed them and they grew double.
Again, this is completely consistent with the Lord. He loved cursed fig trees.
He hates fig trees.
No, he likes fig trees. He just wants them to bear the proper fruit.
In the proper time.
It was the proper time. Fig experts are like, you shouldn't expect fruit out of fig tree that time of year.
No, again, he's the one who created the fig tree. He's like, you had your chance.
Anyway, some of her best stories are, of course, about the beer, because,
the
we've
lake
already...
of beer.
Lake
The
of
lake of
beer.
beer.
If we
Many
get to heaven,
poems.
we'll meet you there.
Yep.
Although I think we already off-screen decided that the lake of beer for heaven is actually on Mars or something. One of
could
those
be,
craters.
Again, we've got resurrection bodies. It'll totally work.
Yeah, we can go wherever.
I do recall this.
Anyway, she was known for turning water into beer
God bless her. God bless her.
and also multiplying beer.
God bless her.
So, according to one story, that she needed to go and give beer to a leper colony because back in the day, beer was considered, a health drink. Water, you could get sick from it, but beer, you're good. So she turned water into beer. She also had 1 barrel of beer, which she made so that 18 churches could drink the beer from 1 barrel.
And this is not like they were getting a thimbleful. No, there was multiplication of the beer.
Yes. This was in the day in which you had a beer for breakfast, and children had a small beer, which was basically a very, very watered down beer.
Well, again, people could drink back in the day. People could drink all the time because what they were drinking was barely alcohol, just enough to make sure that it wouldn't poison them,
Yes.
like the water.
So, once cured a nun's blindness and then returned it at her request.
This is a fun story.
Go ahead.
The nun wanted her blindness back.
Listen, when I was blind, I didn't have to do all this work.
No, it wasn't that. It's much more spiritual than that.
Sure.
She was blind. She was born blind. She had never seen. She knew this good and holy woman who's like, "Can you let me see?" And then she saw, and she's like, "This seeing is totally distracting me from paying attention to God." So she's like, "Could you make me blind again?"
Boom. That's holiness.
One saved a woman's life by pulling a brooch out of a fish.
Yes. Apparently, a person insisted that the woman had stolen the brooch from his house, which then would allow him to make her his slave to pay it off.
So, yeah, it seems like he's a very honest fellow.
Yes, but it turns out that he actually just, chucked it into the ocean. So she told her nuns to go fishing and bring her the fish. And the fish, of course, much like the story with the coins for the temple tax, ate the brooch, and that's how they got it back. Also, what you missed on our list is her blood cured muteness.
How would you apply the blood?
Well, the story is that she was traveling. She, fell off her horse or donkey.
Okay.
Hit her head on a rock, which caused her to, bleed some.
Yeah.
At which point the blood either splashed on or was touched by this guy and his multiple children who all were mute, and they suddenly could talk.
Hey!
They all were mute?
Well, the guy could go and talk.
But I'm saying all of his children were mute.
He had 2 to 3 children.
This is the way miracle stories work, Nate. Yes.
They took her into his house for the night because she just hit her head, and they could talk.
So they were being rewarded for their charity.
Yes.
Fair enough. Well, let's see. We also have her father, or a king, as we already discussed. We're not
Some
really
dude.
sure who. Agreed to give her as much land as her cloak would cover to build her convent on. And it covered many acres.
This sounds like the kind of reckless oath that you're going to regret.
/ the whole county.
Well, the story was, and again, the size depends on whether she was dealing with her father or
Or a
essentially
king.
the king of the area.
Yeah.
She had begged and pleaded. She wanted to build this religious community for nuns, and they're like, "No, we're not helping you. We're not doing anything." And she's like, "Okay, how about you give me as much land as my cloak can cover?" And in some stories, it's a small cloak. In some stories, it's a large cloak. But if it's a large
Regardless,
cloak,
it's
it's
not
still
that-
a few yards of material.
So the guy's like, yeah, sure,
Sure,
great.
whatever.
That
So-
way I can formally keep my oath without really losing anything.
Yes, so she got 4 women who were interested in becoming nuns to each grab a corner and just start running. And depending on the story, they either got many acres or the guy's like, "Stop running!" Or the guy's like, you covered my entire county. I can't give you that much. And she's like, okay, how about this much? And then whenever he started acting like kind of suspicious, she's like,
just
my
keep running.
cloak.
Do not mess with nuns. They're brides of Christ. They're very holy. Just give them what they ask for. Help them.
They are effectively the little old ladies of Jesus.
They're the ones who keep the world turning. Cloistered nuns just praying and praying and praying.
Exactly.
Except for the ones who are mean to the ones who become saints. But that still helps the saints to be saints.
There's got to be someone that's mean to all these saints, and if they spend their whole life cloistered, it's only going to be
someone
other
in the
nuns.
cloister.
There's a
Absolutely.
good chance they might not have been as saintly had they had had they had an easier life.
Exactly. Now, one story that we haven't mentioned. If you watch Catholic TV,
Okay.
their daily mass, you'll see two saints behind the altar. Because it's the Archdiocese of Boston, St. Patrick, and St. Bridget.
Okay.
And St. Bridget is holding a crozier.
Yes. I didn't include that, but I do know the story of that. As according to, again, one of the numerous legends, because that's all we have with the saint, or multiple saints.
It probably happened.
At the very least, it is a good example for, people, was that they accidentally gave her the wrong blessing.
So they're installing her as abbess, and apparently they technically installed her as bishop.
Somebody needed to do a better job studying their Latin.
So she got a bishop's crozier.
Yes.
And to this day, some abbesses get a crozier because they are the shepherd of their little flock.
Yes.
Or shepherdess of their little flock.
And in the stories that involve that, they usually point out that because she was so good and holy, she then picked some guy who was a priest that would actually be the bishop, and they invested him in that job. But, she still got to keep the swag.
It is very impressive whenever the bishop visits. Kerthunk.
Especially the poor altar server whose job it is to remember when is he going to put this down and I have to go and grab it.
I think it's worse to be the hat guy.
He takes it on and off so many times.
I don't know. I'd take those jobs.
I'm just saying, I think they're stressful. I'm sure you can get good at them. So, St. Bridget of Kildare. Could have been one woman. Could have been several women. Could have been an adaptation of Tales of a Goddess.
But only the good parts that were totally in line with Christianity.
Exactly.
So go down below to the comment section and leave us a comment on perhaps there's a story of St. Bridget that we missed.
There's a lot of them.
Comment below with what you think is the most probable location for the Lake of Beer. Will it
be on Mars?
Will there be more than one in heaven?
Maybe the moon one of its craters will be a lake of beer, and then the moon itself will be cheese. So you can have cheese and beer cheese. It'll be like Wisconsin, only awesomer.
That'd be awesome. Subscribe to our channel. Ring the church bell to be notified the next time a plot is uploaded, which I believe will be tomorrow.
Probably, yeah.
Entirely possible.
Like this episode.
And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.